Welcome into your Tiny Week Ahead reading. I am T from Tiny Divinations, formerly Tiny Cheeks Tarot, coming in to break down your cards for this week. So we have three different piles. Pick the pile or piles that you are drawn to, and I will see you in your reading. Welcome in pile one to your week ahead reading. Let's get into your cards. So, the first card you have is Clan of the Wolf Heart. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Beautiful card. Now, technically, these are your words of wisdom for this week. So, we're going to put that aside. And I've already pulled the cards for the piles. So, let's get into the energy of this week. Starting with our mood cards. So the first thing we have is bored. Nothing ever happens. Sorry. I know what I did was wrong and I'm sorry. Lonely. I feel so alone. And relaxed. Free from strain and tension. Okay, so the energy that we have from our mood cards are very interesting, right? It feels like there's a little bit of isolation this week. We have the lonely and the bored card, so it feels like part of why people may be bored or may be lonely is because you may have been in spaces where you've been isolating yourself, or you haven't been reaching out to people, or you haven't been answering people if they've been reaching out to you. And you may want to get back into community this week. You may want to get back around people. You may want to start reaching out to people. You may want to go into spaces of community this week. You also have sorry. So some of the reason why we may have isolated ourselves is because something may have happened. You may have had a situation where you were hurt by someone, and so or people or something, and you removed yourself from the situation, or you kind of like backed up in a way, and now you're kind of feeling it, in the sense that you want to have community again, or you want to be around these people. It may also be vice versa, where you did something, and people kind of took a step back away from you, or you did something and you took a step back because you maybe in some cases didn't want to take accountability for it, or like I said, somebody may have taken a step back from you in that sense that they don't want to, like at the time it happened, they didn't want to hear what you had to say. And this week it feels like it may be a good time to reach out, right? Whether you were the one that was hurt or you were the one that hurt someone. If you were the one that hurt someone, though, be ready to go back and make amends. Be ready to take accountability for what you did. If you were hurt, be ready to address what happened, but go in it from a space of wanting community and wanting to reconcile, as opposed to like still being upset. If you are still frustrated and really triggered or upset by what happened, then maybe this isn't a good week, but it's something that you're definitely thinking about right now, it feels like. The other thing is that all of these faces are kind of the same, with the exception of the relax, right? It's given like meh. It's given very meh energy. And so you may be feeling like that this week as well. You have the relaxed card at the bottom. So free from strain and tension. I feel like reminding yourself to like, okay, our shoulders are up by our ears. Let's bring our shoulders down. Reminding yourself to breathe, reminding yourself not to take shit too seriously or to take too energy on that you don't need to. You know what I mean? Like, don't pick shit up that you don't need to pick up. Don't make something bigger than it has to be in terms of how you emote about it or how you like react to it. You know what I mean? This can definitely help with um, the strain and tension that comes up with the relax card. It also feels like it's more relaxing to be around people, to kind of decompress, to be able to vent, to be able to just let go for a second. So I feel like the relax card also deals with that community aspect too. I want to flip the cards over and get some of the questions, and then we can move on to specific things that might happen this week. Okay, so looking at the questions, the first thing that stood out was, how did you get to this point? This is the question on the back of the lonely card. And then, what would you like to be doing is the question on the back of the board card. So, putting those things together, how did you get to this point of isolation or of boredom, of not feeling like you're living, of feeling like you're kind of stuck? And what would you rather be doing, or what would you like to be doing, right? Within that, you can ask yourself, how long have you been feeling this way, which is part of a question that's on the board card, and what needs to happen to cut this out, which is similar to the question of what could you do to help yourself in the lonely card, right? So there's aspects of this week that if you really sit with yourself, we can kind of get ourselves out of this funk and kind of recognize how we got here to begin with. You also have, is there anyone in your life that you could talk to or get support from, right? And so I talked about there being a need for community this week. In the sorry card, we have, do you communicate your thoughts and feelings? So again, there's this aspect of you needing to talk to people about what's going on with you, whether it's to vent, whether it's to get advice, whether it's to get comfort, whether it's to just feel like you're not crazy, right? Like, but there is a very communal aspect this week. And again, that could be parasocial, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be in person, it could be virtual, but it still needs to happen. Like, you still need to kind of get out of your shell this week, you know? Um, yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I'm just going to go over the questions in the relax card. What are the benefits of relaxation? How do you calm yourself? I feel like you're like, I don't know. Some people said, I don't know how I calm myself. Some people said, I breathe, but do you breathe? Sometimes you hold your breath, you're not breathing. Anyway, if you visualize yourself in a calm space, where would you be? And listen, that can be in your mind, just like, I want to be on vacation. Yes, yes, yes. And temporary vacation in your mind, building that vacation in your mind, right? That could be your safe space, but also it could be a form of manifestation. Perspective, okay? Perspective. Let's get our affirmations. The affirmation for board: life is what I make it. I can enjoy the quiet times, but know when to move on. Anything and everything is possible if I set my mind to it. Sorry, I don't always get things right, but I am willing to look at myself and learn. The affirmation for lonely is, I am an important part of the human race and look forward to connecting with others. And then the affirmation you have for relaxed is, I am calm and relaxed. I release stress and welcome peace and serenity. Okay. And that made me want to go like this. But anyway, all right, let's get into the specific things that may happen this week. Okay, getting into our cards for the specific things that may happen this week, we have crystals, achievement, phrases, motivation, crown, personal power, recover, recycle, and globe, possibilities. Okay, let me move these a little bit. Okay, so specific things that may happen this week, just based on these cards: achievement, motivation, personal power. It feels like we're very much tackling this week, right? It feels like you're definitely going to be able to get shit done this week. It feels like whether that's at work or at home, you'll have like feelings of accomplishment. You'll say you want to do some shit and you'll get it done. You know what I mean? If you say you want to do something this week, you'll definitely get it done. You have the crown and the personal power card, which is artwork. So it could be something creative that you're also doing this week. Um, it could be something, if like my brain said, innovative. So that could be something new that you're doing. Not necessarily a new project, but it feels like trying something new, starting something new, or you're like getting your footing in something new that you've been doing. That comes up this week. We have the crystals and the achievement. So it also feels like there's this energy of you like activating yourself somehow this week. I don't exactly know what that means, but it feels like some kind of activation. It feels like some kind of activation, if that makes sense. Um, you also have the phrases and motivation on the billboard, and then you had the artwork here, this like big piece of artwork that you would like sit and look at. So also pay attention to signs and symbols this week. Pay attention to numbers. If you see numbers, look them up. If you get a sign for something, like if you were okay, for example, one time I was on my way to this job that I hated, right? And in my head, I thought to myself, like, if I'm not supposed to be going here, give me a sign. And I hit the corner and I forget what the billboard said, but it was like, it was exactly like, you know, go the fuck home, bitch. Like, you don't need this job. And I went to the job and I quit the job that day. But it was very much a sign. It was very, very much a sign, right? And so the billboard and the phrases also says to me that there's specific things that you're supposed to pick up this week. You know what I mean? Like there's specific signs or moments of confirmation or validation that you will see if you pay attention. Sometimes they talk, like I said, through numbers, through symbols, through animals. It could be through a fucking commercial. It could be through a song, it could be through anything, it could be through a random person, right? So just pay attention to the signs that you get this week. If you get signs, confirmations, messages, move on them. Okay, I'm telling you that now so that you know that. Okay. Like I said, with the personal power, the motivation, the achievements, it just feels like we feel energized, we feel confident about ourselves, we know what we're doing, we feel good about what we're doing. It just feels like very kind of like tarot energy. It feels very like almost like chariot energy, or no, I mean, more so maybe like the magician, like magician chariot type energy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using all my tools, I'm trying all my skills, I'm getting shit done, I'm moving forward, I'm ready to move forward, I'm trying to balance things like that, right? Then we have recycle, recover. Like I talked about with the relationships that we have, that people may have had issues with. The recycle, recover made me think of that, the hello again. It made me think of like this being a week again, like I said before, of being able to reconcile with people or being able to reach out, being able to reform connections. You may have people reaching out to you. You may want to reach out to people. It may not even be a situation where something necessarily happened, but it's like maybe been a long time since you've talked to this person. And so, like, there's some kind of connection going on there. With the global possibility next to it, it may be somebody that is far away from you, that's in another country, or just in another state. Like there's a distance between you, or there's been a lot of time in between you talking or seeing each other, something like that. So that could also be a part of it. With the recover, next to the personal power and the possibilities, it also seems like there might be something that you might want to recycle in terms of ideas or thoughts, or like a project that you were thinking about. Like, I just got in my head like a book that you were thinking about writing or something like that. That's very specific for some people. Um, for some people, if you were thinking about like traveling somewhere, you've been somewhere that you've been before, excuse me, or it was an idea to travel or move somewhere that you had been thinking about before, but that you put to the side, that may come back up this week. You may want to think about that again this week. Again, with the personal power card next to these things, it feels like it's a good idea, whether it's a project or an idea or that book or traveling or moving, um, or like doing something that's um, a distance away. I don't know what that means. Like, that sounds like far to me. That sounds like the same thing. Okay, okay. Doing something that's worlds away. It could be doing something that's worlds away from what the fuck you're doing, um, but that you've wanted to do before or that you've thought about doing before. Okay, so these are the things that come up for me in terms of specific things that we got going on this week. Let's get into your words of wisdom. Okay, so your words of wisdom come from Clan of the Wolf Heart. We are the ones we've been waiting for. I'm going to read straight from the book because I really love this Earth Warrior Oracle. You belong to the Clan of the Wolf Heart. This is a soul tribe, with boundaries beyond bloodlines and geography. It is based on a soul connection to love's wisdom and higher truths of great spirit. The clan is united through wolf medicine and the heart. These are the qualities of the divine feminine that unify, allowing for a palpable experience of oneness that brings power to our collective wisdom and purpose. In a reading, reach out for help from others. Yeah, okay. Whilst you honor and respect your individuality and your own unique life journey. Balance social time with taking care of your own individual needs, including the need for time out and solitude to hear your inner truths and renew yourself. Anger can be a sign from the soul, a sacred gift that asks you to deal with a situation to bring about something different or more empowering. Use your anger as a sacred gift with compassion and clear purpose. Fight wholeheartedly when you need to safeguard when what you need to safeguard truly matters. Be open to a greater guiding wisdom so that you know when to be merciful and when to cut something off completely. Believe in your power. Excuse me. I don't know why I can't read, y'all. I'm sorry. Believe in the power of your inner voice and do not silence yourself. Okay. And then there's a lot more that goes with it. There's like spiritual guidance and a healing process that goes with these cards, but we're just going to go with the first page for now. So, this was your wisdom for this week. This was your reading for this week, pile one. Let me know what you think about the reading. Let me know how this week has been for you. Let me know if it resonates, if you've been thinking about reconciling, if people have been hitting you up, if you need to rest and recover, if you've been having things percolating in your brain that you've been wanting to start again, whatever comes up, let me know. Like, share, comment, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Tiny Divinations. If you'd like your own reading, book with me at wildheartbotanica.com. Subscribe to the Substack. We have the fairy tale reading coming out this week. And yeah, if you have another pile, I will see you there. If not, thank you so much for reading with me. I will see you in your next reading. Welcome in pile two to your tiny week ahead reading. Let's get into your cards. So, the first card that you have that you chose is Amaru, the beautiful place. This is actually your words of wisdom, so we will get into that in a second. Let's get into the energy of this week with our mood cards. So, the first card we have is confused, forgiving, strong, love, and hopeful. Okay, so getting into the energy of this week, starting with confused. The first thing I thought of when I saw this card, especially because of like the coloring in the background, it made me feel like brain fog. Okay, so there may be aspects of this week where you feel brain fog, where you may make little mistakes, like simple mistakes, and just feel like, oh my God, why did I do that? You may do it over and over again, like, or make the same mistake over and over again. So that may be a thing that comes up this week, right? Because you have the forgiving card next to the confused card, it may be a situation this week that comes up where you may be confused about whether or not you should accept this person's apology or whether the person will forgive you. It's funny because in the first pile, we had like something similar to this in terms of having to make amends with people. So because it has the strong card next to it, it feels like to me in the first pile it was more so about like having conversations, making amends with people. And this, it feels like if you're confused, if there's a situation where you're confused on whether you should forgive someone or let them back in after they've hurt you or something like that, I need you to really sit with what they did, how it made you feel, and if you actually think that they are changed enough to not do it again. Okay, so it's different from pile one. It feels like I said, there's more weight in terms of like what happened or how it made you feel, and that there's a, a way that you don't need to just make decisions if you are not clear about how you feel. Okay, so that may be something that comes up this week. You also have the forgiving card on top of the love card with the confused. So it may also be that there's a situation with someone that you love, and that doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but it could be romantic. But somebody that you love very deeply or care about very deeply that you might have had a situation with, and that you're not sure about how to move forward with, or like how to forgive them for what happened, or things like that. So that may be part of what comes up. um for some people it may be like specifically exes, um where you're thinking about forgiveness and you're confused about whether you should move forward with them in a particular way. So that's something that could come up this week. You also have the strong card, like we talked about before, and strong in words, strong in action. To me, speaks to you like standing up for yourself, kind of like I talked about with the first situation in terms of forgiving people and getting clear about how you feel. You have strong words, strong action, so it feels like you're very much knowing what you want to say and then saying what you mean and meaning what you say, and like standing on your shit and setting your boundaries and kind of leading for yourself and in some cases for others. Okay, so that's part of what I get. And then you have the hopeful card. So even within all these things, this feels like in the situations where we talked about forgiveness, there's still hope in terms of like either you and that person reconciling, or there's hope in you knowing that like, you'll find better situations, or you'll find better people to deal with, or something like that. There's hopeful situations within there's this week. It feels like there's just like bright lights, so even if there's a lot of shit going on, or a lot of confusion, or a lot of mental things going on for you this week, there's definitely still a bright light that comes in some aspects, whether it's something that specifically happens, or like words of like affirmation or kindness that somebody brings to you, or just like something specific that happens like specific things that could happen, not just one thing, that just like continue to bring you back, to continue to show you, where you're supposed to be, or that good shit is still coming to you, or that you're okay, things like that. You also, like I said, have the love card. Love is everything, the key to life, the color of my heart. And so it feels like there's also still this aspect of you having love and comfort and nurturance this week that you may need. You may need to reach out for that. We talked about that in Pile One. If that one resonated, you might want to watch that one. But yeah, this is what I'm getting from these cards. We're going to flip them over and look at the questions. Okay, so getting into some of these questions, I'm sorry it's a little bit hard to see because of the light. I'm going to get into the confused questions first, and I'm just going to read them so that you can kind of sit with them. Okay. What are you confused about? Have you communicated your thoughts to those involved? What do you think it all means? Affirmation: I switch off from confusion and float into relaxation. All will be clear in time. Okay. Then we have the forgiving. And especially if you're in a situation where you're having to weigh if you should let somebody back in or forgive them, um, how easy or hard is it to find forgiveness in your heart? Okay. If it's a situation of love, then I'm going to pull up the love card and ask, what memories and feelings do you associate with love? And I would say with this love specifically. And then I would ask myself after that, how easy or hard is it to find forgiveness? Okay. Because if the memories of love don't outweigh the thing that you're forgiving, or the hurts that you could list, then that's, giving you a little bit more clarity in terms of the confusion, right? And we have the strong card. So, you're supposed to be standing up and sitting in what's best for you. Okay. Are you loving towards yourself? Right? That would be the next question I would ask within that situation. And even outside of that situation, because we have the confusion, I feel like there may be situations where people are hard on themselves for not having the answers or not knowing what to do. And are you loving towards yourself is something to like bring you back if you do get in a space this week where you're kind of like going the wrong way with it. Okay. Affirmations for forgiven. I can forgive and forget if I choose. Letting go will allow me to move towards acceptance of what is and faith in what will be. Okay. And like I said, there's hope within that faith in what will be. That's why we have that hopeful card, because it's like whatever the situation is, whether you forgive and you decide to let them go, or you forgive and decide to be, you know what I mean? Like you'll know what it is. You'll know where you're going. You'll know how to move forward. You'll know who you're dealing with because you'll have sat with yourself and really like weighed all the things before you made your move or your decision, you know? Okay. Then we have the strong card. Ask yourself, where do you get strength from? In what ways do you show that you're strong? How has being strong helped you in life so far? Affirmation. I am strong in mind, body, and soul. I connect to all around me with strength and wisdom. I am solid as a rock. Okay. Like I said, you mean what you say what you mean, you stand up for yourself, and you stand in your shit. Okay. The last card we have is hopeful. What are you hopeful about? And really like dig deep. And if you can't find anything, then that's information too. What do you see for yourself in the future? I'd start with in 2 years, and then in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. What are the steps you need to take to achieve that? Write them down. And again, don't get hard on yourself. If you're confused, look for help. Google it. You know, maybe not Google. We're trying not to. People are saying not to use Google anymore. Find a, find a source. Ask. Try not to use AI, but ask. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Affirmation. I'm optimistic about the future. I have faith that all will be well and as it should be. Okay. So this is the energy we're getting for this week. Let's get into the specific things that may happen this week. Okay, so getting into some specific things that may happen this week. We have mirror reflection, abundance, cowrie show, heart, love, and enlightenment, lotus flower. And actually, you know what? I'll spread these out. So, getting into the specific cards for your week, in terms of mirror, we already talked about the reflection and the reflecting that people are going to be doing this week. It feels like there is moments of you thinking, moments of meditation with the enlightenment that we have also with the lotus flower, moments of you just really being able to like in quiet thoughts sift through the things that have happened, sift through how you feel, really sit with that, have aha moments about the things that you feel and the reflections that you have, whether they're about yourself or about others, and be able, like I said before, to know how to move forward, right? And that to me speaks to the abundance also. Like there are ways in which things will be reflected to you this week as well. Like situations may come up to show you either how in alignment or out of alignment you are with who you want to be or how you want to move, you know what I mean? And then that may be part of where the forgiveness comes in, and you really actually sitting with yourself and forgiving yourself for how you reacted or what happened, and being able to move forward again with the strong that we have before, and being able to stand in who you are and who you want to be and move from that place. Okay. There's also with the abundance and the reflection, it feels like there's a comfort or like a power in knowing who you are and knowing what you decide and knowing how you feel about some shit. And like I said before, being able to actionably uh, communicate that, which I just couldn't for a second. Being able to actually communicate that, or being able to strongly stand in that, you know what I mean? And that coming from a place of you actually really sitting with that and that feeling really good to you, you know? You feeling really confident about yourself because of this. You feeling like you can go forward and do things because of this, right? The abundance card also says to me that you may have things coming in this week that will be um, either monetarily good for you, or that could monetarily bring in gains for you, or abundance can come in different forms. So it may be you may have more leisure time this week, or you may have things that just like come together this week for you. It may be something where you have an abundance of like help or support coming in for you. So like I said, abundance can come in a bunch of different ways, but it feels like because of the calorie shells, it feels like either many things, or it comes in like bits and pieces, or it's like scattered throughout the week for you. Okay. You also have abundance next to the love or and the heart card. So it may also be a week this week where, like I said, you get an abundance of help and support or love, affirmations, people giving you recognitions or rewards, or people helping you or supporting you in some way. You may also be in a situation this week where you meet somebody, or you've already been talking to somebody and you start to feel deeper feelings for them. There's some aspect of love coming in. They may be feeling deeper for you. You may be going on a date or dates this week. We talked about with the love situation, you may have a situation where you're thinking about going back to a relationship or situation that you've been in, or like uh, just wanting to be in love again. Maybe you hadn't been in a place where you had been feeling that you want to be in love, but you feel good about it again. Again, I feels like because we have the enlightenment card and the reflection card on the end, it feels like because you've done the work, you may be back in this space again, right? And it feels like a good space. So that makes a lot of sense to me next to the abundance card, and just that in itself. Like I said, it may come up in the exes, it may come up in new situations, it may come up with dates, but it feels like this week love in some aspect definitely comes up. And it may also come up because I said before, you feel more confident in yourself and stronger. The self-love that you feel this week may be like on a beam, you know what I mean? Like that may also be how that shows up. We then have the lotus flower, the enlightenment card. So again, we've already talked about this, but it just feels like there's an we also have the enlightenment card. So it just feels like there's a level, like we talked about already, a level of knowledge that comes to you this week, a level of um wisdom, or like information, answers, guidance. Like it feels like there's a way that this comes up that helps you be able to move, that helps you be able to see things more clearly, that helps you be able to accept or to acknowledge opportunities as they come, that help you open up to and be more receptive to love in all different forms. So this is what I'm getting in terms of the specific things that happen for your week. Let's get your words of wisdom. So the card that you have for your words of wisdom. What the fuck, Duchess? So the card that you chose for your words of wisdom is Amaru, the beautiful place. So I'm just going to read straight from the Earth Warrior Oracle because I really love this book. And I'm just going to give you um, the first part of it and in the reading. Your dreams are more beautiful. Your dreams of a more beautiful world are not a product of childish fantasy, nor idle imagination. They are true spiritual visions inspired by the universal heart that yearns for a divine paradise to be manifested in all worlds. You have a life purpose to assist in the creation of divine harmony in the world through sacred activism and the expression of your soul talents. Believe that the beautiful world you long for is not only possible, but part of your spiritual responsibility to create. In a reading, Don't be scared to face a problem head on. You don't need to be willful about a solution, but in the facing but in facing the issues, you shall simplify the complexity and recognize the practical steps that will create healing change. Keep your mind and heart open as you ask for the unconditional loving guidance as to how you best evoke divine healing in any situation. There is an outcome available to you that is far more beautiful and divinely inspired than what you can currently envision. Ask for divine help and trust unconditionally in the guidance that will lead you away from the limitations of your current thinking into the perfection of what the divine wishes for you and our world. So that is your words of wisdom for this week. When I pulled all the cards initially because I just wanted to make it a shorter reading, but I don't be remembering what I pull, y'all. So like I love how well that went together with everything I said. Um, because like I said, I just remembered what the card was. I did not actually go in the book and see what the meaning of the card was. I just thought it was really pretty. But I love how it all went together. It speaks so succinctly to everything that we talked about. And I hope that you really, really receive that message. So if you didn't really hear it, if you need it again, rewind, go back. Okay. But that is your reading for this week, pile two. Let me know how all of that makes sense. Let me know how your week is. If you would like your own personal reading with me, book with me. Okay. You can book at wildheartbotanica.com. I have two different options right now. I'm going to add a third one before the month is over. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Substack. We have the fairy tale reading coming out this week. Um, Follow me on all of the socials, TikTok, Instagram at Tiny Divinations. Comment, like, share with somebody who needs it. And if you have another pile, I will see you there. If not, thank you so much for reading with me. I will see you in your next reading. Welcome in pile three to your tiny week ahead reading. Let's get into your cards. So, we have the first card, Diamond Tiger of the Black Moon. Second chances bring success. And this is actually your words of wisdom for the week. So we'll get into that in a second. Let's get into the energy of your week using our mood cards. So the first card we have is Annoyed, Not Again. Then Satisfied came out immediately after. Pleased with myself, I smile inwardly. Then Shame, I can't believe I did that. Then Frustrated, frustration has me turned from a normally peaceful, loving person into an irrational, angry one. And Relief, phew, I can breathe again. What I'm getting from these cards in terms of the energy. First thing, we have annoyed, frustration, and shame. So there's a level of this week that something happens where we are really upset about it. Even though we have shame, I can't believe I did that. It could also be something that someone else is doing. And if because it has, I can't believe I did that. If it's something that somebody else is doing, it could be a situation where it's not the first time they've done this. You knew that they were this kind of person, or you've seen them do these kind of behaviors before, and you can't believe you allowed yourself to let them back in, or allow them to take advantage of you again, or allow them to push past your boundaries, or whatever the situation is, right? Because again, we have annoyed, not again. With the frustration under the annoyed, not again, again, it feels like there are situations that come up this week where you get in your feelings, like, and it's not sadness, it's like anger, frustrations, resentments. Some of this can be heightened also. So like if you're feeling annoyed, let's check in with what we're really mad about, right? What we're actually feeling upset about. Are we giving too much energy to it, or more energy to a situation than it needs to be, right? Is this compounded? Is this like, am I reacting this way because of multiple things that have happened, right? It may be a situation this week where you have things on top of things on top of things that happen that get you into an activated state, right? That put you in like more of a fire element, and then you react, or you know, move in ways that you're not necessarily happy with, or don't really align with what you want to do. Okay. And so before we get there, because you're already here, you know these things are coming up this week. Take a step, take a step back, take some breaths, walk away from a situation, do whatever you know that you need to do to bring you back into yourself, to bring you into an inactive state, to bring you back into a grounded place so that you can react from there, so that you don't have moments of shame. Okay. And I feel like because we said this with the satisfied card in the middle, pleased with myself, I smile inwardly. There may be some people that act out in ways, but there also may be people, because we're saying this, that may be able to mitigate situations where you may have normally acted out and done something that you were ashamed of, and you do something differently in this sense, and that brings you, like, happiness or confidence or validation or confirmation that you're actually changing and growing and moving. Okay. Again, it this is for like the next 7 to 10 days, so this can like ebb and flow, you know what I mean? You may have moments where you do allow your feelings and emotions to activate you and act out a bit. You may have moments where you don't, you know what I mean? So it feels like it could go kind of all over the place with the energy this week. Okay. You may also, because we have the shame, annoyed, frustration, like I said before, you may also be feeling this with yourself in terms of something that happens this week. Maybe not dealing with necessarily somebody else, but just in general, or that those may be feelings that come up with something that has already happened in the past. And you start to think about it and get annoyed and frustrated with yourself. And again, how you reacted, how you moved, what you did, how you um, handled things. You know what I mean? But again, with the satisfied card and the relief card, we really have to sit with like our efforts and things. Okay. We really have to sit with doing the best that you can in the situation that you were in, with what you have, with the knowledge that you had, with the place that you were at. Just being very mindful of these things will also help you be able to see a new perspective of certain things that will then allow you to not react in certain ways, or to allow you to see that there's no need to feel shame, because just because you reacted in this one way this time, it doesn't take away from the 35 other times that you didn't, or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's part of the energy that I'm getting from these cards. Let's flip them over and see the questions on the back. So, getting into the questions on the back of the cards, I want to start on this side with annoyed. Okay. So, ask yourself, what is annoying you right now? Okay. Within that, I'm going to move to frustration as well. What is the cause of your frustration? Try to move it so y'all can see that. There you go. Okay. What part are you playing in this situation? Do you like the view you have of yourself? Okay, the next thing we'll go to annoyed. How does this affect you? What needs to be done to change the situation? How can you do things differently from now on? Okay, so these questions to me go together, right? Because if we're frustrated, or excuse me, if we're annoyed about something and it's causing anger and frustration, we need to get to the root of why. Okay, and does it really affect you? If it doesn't really affect you, then why are you giving it the energy that you are? If it does affect you, what part are you playing in the situation? Do you like the view you have of yourself? What needs to change, right? How can you do things differently? It's always bringing accountability and balance to both things. Affirmation: I rise above frustrations in my life through love, hope, and a good sense of humor. I can communicate my thoughts and feelings in a positive way and go with the flow of whatever life brings. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to go to satisfied. What brings you satisfaction? What does it feel like inside? What stops you feeling satisfied? How can you overcome it? Affirmation: I'm grateful for my life. Everything is just as it should be. My life is full and complete. Okay. If you're not feeling satisfied, if you're not able to answer these questions, then it may be some of these surrounding feelings, the shame, the frustration, the annoyance, that we have to dig into and ask these questions so that we can come back to this. Okay? So let's get into shame. What have you done to feel so bad? And really, if you're feeling guilt or shame, then really sit with that and then go back to these questions, right? What's the cause of it? What part did you play in it? How can you do things differently? Okay. How does it affect you? What needs to be done to change the situation? Okay. And again, then they go into how do you wish you had done things differently? What can you learn from this? Because you're not supposed to sit in the shame. Okay. Shame isn't necessarily an emotion to hold on to. It's information. Okay. And if you really feel a way, then you want to move through it, right? You want to learn about it so that you can move to the other side and not make the same mistakes so that you don't have these same feelings. Okay. Affirmation. Mistakes help us grow on our spiritual paths. I live in peace, harmony, and acceptance of myself and others. Let this new day begin. Okay. And the last card we have for the energy is relief. What are you relieved about? Even within the frustrations, with the annoyances, with the shame, that's all information, right? And so there can be relief in knowing what you're dealing with. There can be relief in knowing who you're dealing with. There can be relief in knowing that you don't like what you've done or that there are things you want to change. There can be relief in knowing that the other person or situation isn't going to change. And so if something's going to change, it has to be you. And then you can move from there, you know? So there are a lot of ways that you can feel relieved. So again, what are you relieved about? And also perspective, because situations could be worse or different than they are, and that's something to feel relief about as well. What does it tell you about yourself? Is there anything you could do differently next time? Again, this is asking in multiple different cards. How can you learn from this? What can you do differently? How can you change this? What needs to be thought of so that you can move in a different way? Okay. So it's a lot of reflection in these cards and in the energy of this week because of the things that come up, because of the things you have to move through. Okay. So just do the work. Affirmation. Everything happens at the right moment. I'm enriched by all experience and now let go and move on gratefully and gracefully. Okay. Because again, you know that whatever is supposed to be will be, and that, you're going in a positive way. You have getting through life with love and humor, and that everything is just as it should be, and that your life is full and complete. So regardless of everything that's happening, you're being moved in these directions. You're being pushed in these situations to grow, to expand, to transition. Okay. And there's a lot of that comes up in the energy of this week. So let's transition into specific things that may happen this week. Okay, getting into the energies of what may specifically happen this week, we have succulence, resilience, anchor, stability, key, opportunity, clouds, distractions, moon, emotions. Let's move these over a little bit. And then feather, messages. Okay. So, in terms of the specific things that we may expect this week, um, like I said in the other cards, there's definitely a lot of emotions that come up this week. There's ways in which we can allow ourselves to get caught up in our emotions this week, to kind of like backtrack or to falter in the things we put in place or in the lessons that we've learned and the knowledge that we have that we normally would utilize. You know what I mean? There's ways in which we can get off track with that or falter with that. And we talked about that with the frustrations and with the annoyances with the last card. So be mindful of your emotional triggers this week. If you're somebody who is um, somebody who's into your astrology and like the transits and the aspects and things that are going on in your chart, you may want to look into your chart and see if there are specific things going on right now that can explain why you're feeling what you're feeling, or the things that are happening and the lessons that you're supposed to learn from them. Okay. Um, like I said, that with the distractions and the emotions, be careful that you're not making mistakes because you're not present. Okay. There's a level of grounding that you have with the anchor and even with the succulents. So you need to be mindful of being grounded into your body this week. You may have moments of like being in the clouds or being kind of distracted. Pay attention when you're driving. Okay. Pay attention to all the things that you're doing. If you know that you're distracted, reread the shit that you're doing, have somebody else read it over, look over everything more than once so that you don't make mistakes. Because I'm telling you right now, there may be people that make mistakes, especially if you're feeling like you get caught up, like you're getting in your head, you're getting in your thoughts. And it's not like a daydream, it's just like a drifting off from where you're supposed to be. Okay. So we got to stay grounded. We got to check and double check the things that we're doing. Okay. You then have the resilience card and the stability card, right? So with the resilience and the succulents, like I said, there are a lot of things coming at you this week, and there's a way in which you may not exactly be being watered in a sense this week, right? It's not like um, you're being showered with good things or like things are coming in. It feels like we're just having to deal with a lot of what's happening. And so you got to water yourself in a sense. You have to maintain your energy. You have to keep a balance. You have to tell yourself and remind yourself, if this doesn't affect me, then I don't need to hold on to this. I don't need to emote as much as I may be about to, or I don't need to react in the ways that I'm going to, because like this is not necessarily something that is for me, or for me to respond to, or something like that. You know what I mean? Resilience also, this may just be a long ass week. You may just feel like there's a lot of shit that happens, or it's a lot energetically, and you just want this shit to be over. And it's like, power through. You've got this. You know what I mean? Do the things you need to do to decompress, to bring yourself back into your body, into yourself, to ground yourself. Okay. So that you can like get through what you need to get through and power through this week. Because there are things in this week that feel like if you're able to recognize the lessons, or if you're able to um, react in different ways or move in different ways, that you will see the like the like doors open in a sense. You know what I mean? Like you will see things change, or you will see that it's a catalyst to something else, or you will see that it like brings you um opportunities or perspectives that wouldn't have come had you still been moving or acting in the ways that you were. You know what I mean? So I hope that makes sense, especially for some people at work. It's like there are ways in which some people expect you to act a certain way or expect a certain thing from you. And if you start completely moving differently, it's like they're like, oh, huh, you know, and not in a negative way. It's just like it's almost like inspiring or something. That's how it kind of feels. Um, Again, we talked about the anchor and stability a little bit already, but like I said, there you have the door next to the key, right? So the more that you ground into yourself, the more that you move in ways that align with who the fuck you want to be, the more that you are um uh sorry, I had a brain fart. The more that you are comfortable and calm and like grounded in you um and like yourself and how you want to move, the more that uh, flows this week, the more comfortable that you feel, the more strength that you feel from that, the more you feel that you're able to like conquer the things that happen, to conquer these emotions that you're feeling. And again, to like have opportunities come to you. You know, you also feel more stable in yourself, because when you feel frustrated and annoyed and shame and all of these things, you feel, like I said, you feel scatterbrained, you feel kind of all over the place, you don't feel like yourself, you don't feel like you're in yourself, you don't feel like you're in your body in a sense. And so we definitely need to ground. We definitely need to um, put in the tools that help us to stay grounded and calm and feel comfortable and nurtured, and that allow us to get out the excess energy that we feel from some of these other emotions so that we can still um, accept and move in alignment with and accordment with the things that are coming to us, or the lessons that are supposed to be learned, and the tangible rewards from like learning these lessons and moving in that way. Okay, so this is what I'm getting from the specific things that will happen this week. Let's end your reading with your words of wisdom. Okay, so the words of wisdom we have come from Diamond Tiger, the Black Moon. Second chances bring success. And I'm going to read straight from the Earth Warriors Oracle. Your soul is on the diamond path of spiritual growth. You may feel pressured by life at times, but at a higher level, those challenges are helping you realize your true strength of character. You have the personal will, strength, and physical power that you need for success, no matter what has happened in the past. You are developing the spirit, passion, and vitality to fight like a tigress defending her cubs. Believe in yourself. There is a great dignity and strength in your heart. In a reading, do not judge anything or anyone, including yourself and what you believe is possible based on the past. Reclaim and redirect your energy according to what matters most to you. You are stronger than you realize. The return of strength after challenge, second chances for success, and a brilliant intuition or insight that ends a long lasting cycle of repeated struggle are indicated. A prophecy is given for empowered leadership, spiritual attunement, and success after previous failure, which leads to an irreversible and positive outcome. I love that so much. I shuffled these cards first and chose the card for each pile first. And even though I picked, or not picked, excuse me, even though I shuffled and pulled all the cards for each pile already, I don't, like I said to other piles, I don't remember what the cards say for each card because I didn't look in the book before, like when I pulled them. So I just love how that just tied in everything that we were talking about. It added a reinforced message for those who have specific situations where they're feeling shame towards themselves for something that they did, for something that didn't work at a time, and just validating that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, that all the things that are happening to you are not just happening to you, but that it's a part of your spiritual journey, it's a part of your spiritual alignment, it's a part of the growth and the lessons that you're supposed to have. So this is the reading that I have for you, pile 3. Let me know how this week is for you. Let me know what's going on. Like, comment, share with somebody who needs it. If you'd like your own personal reading, book with me at wildheartbotanica.com. I have 2 offerings right now. I have a third before the month is out. Subscribe to the Substack at Tiny Divinations. Our fairy tale reading comes out later this week. And thank you so much for reading with me. If you haven't have another pile, I will see you there. If not, I will see you in your next reading.